Hello and welcome. I'm the Big Shot Critic, and this is a little bonus. I just saw No Time to Die last night. If you haven't seen it, turn off this video right now. If you have seen it and you have questions, you're at the right place. This is No Time to Die spoiler talk. Very major spoilers for No Time to Die to follow. Last warning, turn off the video. Here we go. There are 4 major James Bond conventions that this movie broke. First, there's supposed to be just one action scene with James Bond that goes before the title sequence. This movie had like a flashback and 3 other scenes, including an action scene, before the title sequence. I was okay with that. That's fine. It worked out. Second, Felix Leiter died. That was a lot to take in, a little tougher to swallow than a few scenes added in at the beginning, but it fit nicely, it felt right, it was handled well. I moved on. Third, this movie gave James Bond a family, including a daughter. Now, he's been married before, so why not? I know it's his last movie, they're not going to be in the next one, so I accepted that. Now, fourth, they killed James Bond. My initial reaction, I hated it. When I felt it coming, I tuned myself right out of the movie and said, if you're going to kill James Bond, this movie's dumb. That's dumb. That's dumb. As I've thought about it more and more, I've actually become more and more comfortable with it. At first I thought, this is breaking the rules too much. This is breaking one rule too many. Everything before that in this movie, I thought, if this movie keeps going this way, it's going to be my second favorite Daniel Craig Bond movie. And I was thinking, just stick the landing. Stick the landing. And it could not have possibly blown the landing more for me last night. I'm going to go into my reasons why it's warming up to me a little later. First, you all might have questions, like, what does this mean for the future of James Bond? I'm here to answer those questions right now. Will there be any more James Bond movies? Yes. This doesn't mean the producers are done. This just means it's the end of Daniel Craig, and they decided to send him off a little differently than the other actors. A quick refresher for those of you who don't know, this is the 25th James Bond movie. They've been through 6 actors. Something James Bond fans know that maybe most people don't is that it always says James Bond will return at the end of the credits. And you better believe I sat through those credits to make sure those words came on the screen. And they did. At the very end, it said again, James Bond will return. Now, the next question people might have is, will James Bond be a woman? The woman who played 007 in this movie? No. The current producers for James Bond are Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. They're step-siblings, and they're in charge of the franchise. Every decision about James Bond goes through them. Barbara Broccoli has stated in an interview recently that James Bond will always be a man. So no, the woman who played 007 in this movie will not be taking over the role of James Bond. Has this ever happened before? No, James Bond has never been dead at the end of one of his movies. He died in You Only Live Twice, but came back right after the title sequence. He died again in Skyfall, but came back again after the title sequence. So he's been presumed dead at least twice, but he's never actually stayed dead when the credits rolled. So in what form will James Bond return? My best guess, they'll do what they've always done. They'll just get a new Bond actor, and we'll probably even get a new Felix Leiter. For those of you who don't know, Felix Leiter has been played by many different actors and has appeared in many different Bond films, starting in 1962 in Dr. No, the very first Bond film. Has Felix Leiter ever died before? No. Although he was severely maimed in License to Kill. They might take a break from him for a while. He didn't appear after License to Kill in 1989 until Casino Royale in 2006. And in all the Pierce Brosnan films in between, the producers gave James Bond a new American contact. I forget his name. You can definitely count on Felix Leiter being rebooted eventually. M, Q, and Moneypenny are sure to return as well. Don't be surprised if they return as the same cast members while we have a new James Bond. The original M, played by Bernard Hill, started in 1962 with Sean Connery and spanned through George Lazenby and into Roger Moore. The original Moneypenny started in the original and went even further than the original M. The original Q started in the second movie in 1963 and went all the way to the late 90s. Now, it's true later on Moneypenny was replaced with each new Bond actor, but don't be surprised if M and other supporting characters continue on as cast. I would say it's also certain that his family will not return in any other James Bond movie. Another big question is, what does this mean for James Bond canon? And what even is James Bond canon? There have been 6 different actors over almost 60 years, and he's been roughly in his 30s and 40s that whole time. What do you make of that? Well, James Bond canon has been abused for a long time, and there are different theories. I am of the belief that they are all the same character, just with very, very loose consistency. There's no official story on if all 6 actors are the same man, or if James Bond is a code name. A lot of people think that. I am of the belief that they are all the same person. Sean Connery's Bond is connected to George Lazenby's Bond because George Lazenby has a sequence in his movie where he's remembering the events of Connery's movies. Connery in Diamonds Are Forever, which came after George Lazenby, is connected to George Lazenby because at the very beginning of Diamonds Are Forever, he is out for blood to avenge his dead wife. Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton both have specific references to a dead wife, so they are also connected to Lazenby's Bond and therefore Connery's Bond. Pierce Brosnan's Bond has an implied reference to a dead wife, so I am also saying he is connected to the other Bonds. Daniel Craig is most definitely named James Bond because we see his parents' graves in the movie Skyfall. This definitely connects him to the other Bonds because in For Your Eyes Only, 1981, with Roger Moore, we see the grave of Bond's wife, who died in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Her name is Tracy, and the gravestone says Tracy Bond. So, they are all named James Bond, and they are all the same man. Also, the 1985 Aston Martin that James Bond drives in No Time to Die is the same color and has the same number plate as the 1985 Aston Martin that he drove in The Living Daylights. Yes, that car did blow up somewhere behind the Iron Curtain, but his Aston Martin DB5 also blew up in Skyfall and was shown as rebuilt in the movie Spectre. So he can do these things. I believe No Time to Die was very heavily influenced by the movie Logan. This goes back to the 2012 movie The Dark Knight Rises, the conclusion to Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. Here's how I think it all went down. Back in 2012 or earlier, Christopher Nolan is making The Dark Knight Rises, and he's writing it and deciding what to do with it until one day he has a thought. Hey, this is my Batman movie. I can do with it what I want. I can end it how I want. So he fakes out the audience and says, oh, Batman's dead, but really he's retired. Bruce Wayne is retired at the end of that movie. He's no longer Batman because Christopher Nolan can end it how he wants to end it. As a matter of fact, Christopher Nolan gave an interview at the time, I think before the movie came out, saying that that was a moment for him where he realized he could, this was his baby. This was his Batman. He could end it how he wanted to end it. Fast forward 2017, James Mangold is making the movie Logan. And he says, you know what? This is my Wolverine. I can end it how I want. Right around 2017 is when No Time to Die was beginning to take shape. And they were heavily influenced by it. That's my theory. They said, this is our James Bond. We know this actor isn't going to do another one. Let's finish it how we want to finish it. There was also a news story back then when Danny Boyle was attached to direct this movie, saying that he wanted to kill James Bond. But he was subsequently separated from the production, and everyone assumed it was because of creative differences where they didn't want to kill James Bond. Which sounds eerily familiar to a news article back in 2008 or 9. Not long after Quantum of Solace came out, there was a rumor that the next movie they wanted to kill M. That went away for a few years until Skyfall came out, and guess what? They killed M. One of the other arguments against the theory that they're all the same man is things like the reintroduction of Blofeld in Spectre. James Bond has met him before earlier. Yes, but it's not really the first time that's happened. In You Only Live Twice in 1967, James Bond and Blofeld have a face-to-face conversation. In the next movie, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, James Bond is in disguise, not a face mask, just clothing, and he's having a face-to-face conversation with Blofeld, and Blofeld does not recognize him. So it's the same James Bond because he's recalling the memories from the earlier Connery films. But it's also kind of not the same James Bond because Blofeld doesn't recognize him. It's this pseudo-reboot, and that kind of thing happens throughout the franchise. That's what leads to these different theories that they're actually different people or they're all the same people. I think they're the same person. But the Bond producers have always played very fast and loose with the canon, which leads me into my theory that Logan was the inspiration, as I previously mentioned. And also leads me to believe that some of the old cast members could very well return as the supporting characters, even with a new James Bond who doesn't have a family and never did, and eventually a new Felix Leiter who maybe hasn't even met James Bond. This kind of thing has happened before. I said I would explain the reason that the death of James Bond has grown on me. I say grown on me. I still don't love it, but I have to admit the precedent is there. I've gone over the reasons why I don't like it, and as I compare it to the older James Bond movies, the reasons start to fall off. Primarily, James Bond always wins. James Bond has to win. Now, this is a complaint about Skyfall that people have, that the bad guy won because M died. Well, the bad guy's plan was, 1, to kill M personally, which he did not do, and 2, to destroy M's legacy, which he also failed to do. In this movie, however, he sets out at the very end in his desperation to ruin Bond's life. And he does. I was pretty mad at that. James Bond always wins. But then I thought about it, and he doesn't always win. At the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, it ends with his wife dying. And the crazy thing is, he doesn't even get revenge in later movies. The next movie, Diamonds Are Forever, does begin with James Bond chasing after Blofeld hard. And he thinks he kills Blofeld, but he finds out later in the movie that that was a double. And at the end of that movie, the real Blofeld gets away. Now, strictly speaking, Blofeld doesn't appear again until Spectre. That's 1971 to 2015. However, a character made to look like Blofeld did appear in 1981 for Your Eyes Only. For legal reasons, they couldn't use the character Blofeld, so this one was made to look like Blofeld, and then James Bond actually does get revenge. But 1, that was 10 years later, and 2, legally speaking, that wasn't Blofeld. So James Bond actually never got revenge. Now in the movie License to Kill, Felix Leiter gets married, and his wife ends up dying, and that really sets Bond off. So sort of by proxy, by getting revenge for Felix Leiter's wife, he sort of gets revenge for his own wife. And that's the closest thing he ever got to actually getting revenge for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And it was 20 years later. So the point being, James Bond has to win. Not really a hard and fast rule. And to be honest, that was my main reason for not liking it, was that I wanted James Bond to win, especially in his last movie with Daniel Craig. My only other reason for hating it was, did it fit with the character? Honestly, it feels like they only did it because they felt like they could, and because audiences liked Logan so much back in 2017. I didn't really get a justified reason to end Daniel Craig's Bond era that way. So speaking in terms of the franchise as a whole, killing James Bond is justifiable. No one has ever abused James Bond canon that much, but okay. In terms of the story of the movie, I'm not really sure it was justified or even earned. But the rest of the movie was so well done, I can see myself forgiving them. And that is No Time to Die spoiler talk. At first, I was not happy with the movie, but as the day has progressed, I'm becoming more okay with it. I tried to answer all the questions that people might have, If you thought of one that I didn't address, go ahead and put it in the comments. While you're at it, give this video a like. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and bye-bye.